Governments throughout the world are spending trillions of dollars on technology, but they're wasting most of that money. I'm going to talk about why that is here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world reach the third stage of digital transformation success. And we help clients with the entire life cycle of their ERP and digital technology projects. We help them with digital strategy and software selection all the way through implementation and even post-implementation. We work with private sector organizations and a lot of public sector organizations. We've also done a lot of research on government-specific implementations and really trying to understand why so many of them fail. And when we're working with our government clients, we find a lot of nuances that are unique, that are different than the private sector and for-profit organizations. And when you look at the money that's being spent by governments throughout the world, the UN estimates that 50 developing countries throughout the world are spending about $5.5 trillion per year on their technology initiatives. In the US alone, the US government has spent about $500 billion a year on technology. And the US government is focused on how to waste less money on things like technology. So this is a very timely discussion given all the money that's being spent by governments throughout the world. And it's worth talking about why do so many of these projects fail. Across the board in public sector and private sector, 80% or more of these projects fail. And what I want to do today is talk about specifically why do ERP implementations fail within government institutions. And be sure to stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to go through a real-life case study, a recent case study of a government ERP implementation failure. Before we dive too far into today's content, I want to share a little bit of information about Third Stage Consulting and who we are. Third Stage Consulting Group is an independent technology agnostic provider of consulting services to help clients through their digital transformations. We help with digital strategy and software selection, as well as implementation planning. And during implementation, we provide services related to program management, organizational change, business process improvement, as well as enterprise architecture. These are just some of the services we provide. We have offices in North America as well as Europe and Asia Pacific. So if you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to check out our resource center, which includes a number of resources that will help you through your digital transformation, and you can access that for free using the QR code here or the links below. You can also reach out to me directly if you'd like to discuss your digital transformation and brainstorm ideas on how to improve where you're headed on your journey. Now let's jump back into today's content. One of the core reasons why digital transformations and ERP projects fail within government institutions begins early in the procurement cycle. In other words, government entities are more likely to have flawed procurement processes. And this all gets back to the RFP process, the request for proposal process that's so common with government entities. Generally speaking, governments are required to submit RFPs and make those RFPs public. And they have committees that will evaluate the responses to those RFPs, the proposals they receive from different software vendors and consultancies, and they as a committee make a decision on which path they want to move forward on. Now this whole process itself is not flawed, but the nuances of this process are. What I mean by that is there's some decisions that government agencies are more likely to make that ultimately bite them later on, and they don't realize it at the time they're in the procurement cycle. One example is to focus on cost. A lot of times government entities will make a decision based on low-cost proposals, which is understandable. But the problem is a lot of proposals are based on unrealistic expectations or they're intentionally underestimated to try and win the business. So there's a lot of gamesmanship that software vendors are more likely to play with government entities because they know that cost is such an important deciding factor. So you might have two proposals that look like one's going to be a lot cheaper than the other, when in reality, it was never going to be cheaper. It was always going to be more expensive, but they got their foot in the door by lowballing their estimate. And through change orders and other contracts in the future, they can usually find a way to pay for that delta. But that leads to budget overruns and a lot of challenges as you see in a lot of government institutions. Now, some of you watching might think, yeah, that sounds great, Eric, but if we have a fixed bid, then that protects us from that sort of budgetary overrun. And that's problem number two with the procurement cycle is the idea that fixed bid is somehow going to solve your problems. The reason it doesn't solve your problems is because fixed bid does two things. One is it ensures that your vendor is going to include a buffer in their estimate because they're taking so much risk by doing the fixed bid. So in some cases, you might actually end up paying more because they built in so much buffer there. And then secondly, the vendors are more likely to have a very tight set of assumptions that box you in, and the minute you move outside of that box, they're going to change order you to death. And that's where a lot of organizations get in trouble, is because they have this false sense of security that they have a fixed bid contract, but they don't realize that they're just going to end up having to change that contract later on because it was never realistic based on the assumptions that were given to them in the proposal. And then thirdly, as it relates to procurement within government entities, these teams that go through the procurement process are generally not fully understanding what it is they want. And that's understandable because when you're first starting a project, you may have a high level sense of your requirements, but you may not know all the assumptions and the nuances and the complexities and risks of your organization. And so vendors inevitably are going to have incomplete information when they make their proposal. And those proposals are going to be more likely to be inaccurate or not be realistic for who you are as an organization. This is why at third stage, we do respond to some government RFPs, but if we don't have complete information in an RFP, or if we don't have an existing relationship with or an understanding of a government organization, we typically won't respond to it because we don't know enough about the organization to give a realistic estimate. So it's really important that you understand that these and other areas of the procurement cycle lead to the first domino falling towards failure later on. Another challenge with government entities that are going through implementations is that they have a lack of internal technical expertise. And that's okay on the surface. Most organizations don't do this for a living. They're not technology experts for the most part. But government institutions are more likely to be a bit further behind in their maturity, and they're more likely to be using some older, outdated legacy systems, maybe some homegrown systems, and they're more likely to be making a big jump from that old system to more of a cloud-based solution here today. But the skill sets are grounded largely in that old, outdated technology, but they need much different skill sets to move into the future. So this affects the implementation. It makes the implementation more difficult because you don't have knowledgeable people on the project internally that understand the journey or understand the new technologies and the new processes you're going to be implementing. And at the same time, that lack of skill leads to a lack of confidence in being able to manage your vendors. So there's a learned helplessness that comes along with this, where government agencies are more likely to defer to their software vendors, defer to their system integrators and the outside consultants because they don't know enough to know how to manage the project. And the minute you cede control and let someone else make decisions for you, that's where a lot of organizations get into pretty big trouble. We've also noticed when we work with public sector and for-profit organizations, public sector organizations are a lot more likely to not have oversight or ownership of the project. In other words, they defer a lot of the decision-making to outside third parties, and they don't take responsibility for the project. Now, the reason for this isn't because people are lazy or they don't want to manage the project. Oftentimes, there's a bunch of different factors that play into this. One is the skill set deficiency that I talked about earlier. They simply don't have the technical chops or the technical skills to be able to manage these projects effectively. Secondly, governments are more likely to have more of a management by committee approach, more of a flat management structure in terms of managing these projects. So there's no one decision maker or one ultimate decision maker in many cases. So that can be a challenge for these projects that lead them to get off track. And because government entities by definition are political institutions, there's a lot of CYA that goes along with that. And that CYA stands for cover your ass. In other words, people are looking out for themselves and making sure they protect themselves, because there can be a lot of infighting during these projects, especially in government institutions where there's very complex and diverse processes that are a lot different than for-profit organizations. So all these things contribute to this dynamic where project teams are more likely to move down a path of little to no oversight of their third-party vendors and implementers. And that's why many of these government institutions hire companies like mine at Third Stage Consulting to help them manage them more effectively and to help bring that competency to their teams so that they're able to more confidently manage these third parties. When you look at government institutions, especially the larger ones, the countrywide federal types of government entities, those organizations are a lot more likely to be complex. They're a lot more likely to have even more political influences within the organizations, and that leads to slower decision making. And I don't say this as an indictment on these organizations, that's just the way it is. That's the world that they live in. So rather than trying to change it, we have to recognize that that's who government entities are. Now, how do we make our project successful given that backdrop? One of the big takeaways here is you have to have realistic assumptions around what it's going to take to go through your ERP implementation. I mentioned earlier about the procurement cycle and how during the procurement cycle, the proposals that you get from vendors typically don't reflect reality. This is especially true for government and public sector clients. Because they move slower, they make decisions slower, they're making a more bigger leap in their technological journey from where they are today to where they're going in the future. Those all lead to longer timeframes. So you really need to add a dose of reality to the proposals you receive from software vendors, because they are going to be more likely to err on the side of assuming too little time or too little money, with the expectation that that's going to give them a better chance of winning the project in the first place. So it's important to have an objective, independent third party like Third Stage Consulting, someone who has no skin in the game, who's not trying to sell you any of the software, to help you understand what those deltas are and what your implementation is really going to look like, so that you can have a realistic view of what that project is going to look like. And this leads you to success because now you know what you're going to spend on the project, you know how much time it's going to take, you know where the business value is, and you're not going to find yourself in a situation where you end up backed into a corner having to ask for more money, or having people ask you questions of why you spent so much time and money on a project when you thought it was going to be a lot less. So those are all dynamics that you can work through by having realistic expectations early in your project. In 2025, when I'm filming this video, a new and recent case study emerged that's out in the public domain, and that involves Birmingham City Council, which is the largest city entity within Europe, and it's based in the UK, and they recently just spent several years trying to implement an Oracle human capital management system. The system integrator was Evosys, and they recently announced that the budget is about 4 times what they originally set for the project, and they're still not done with the project too, by the way. They still have a couple of years left, but they're already estimating they're going to be 4 times over the estimated budget that they originally planned on. Now, the reason this has become a public-facing, newsworthy item is because their auditor is Grant Thornton. And Grant Thornton issued a pretty scathing audit report about the implementation that outlined some of the challenges that the organization was having. For example, they identified that there weren't realistic expectations from the beginning of the project. They identified the fact that there were risks that were identified throughout the project, but the stakeholders within the project team ignored those. They didn't take the warnings that were coming from their project team and even some of their outside consultants. And then ultimately, they also got sucked into a sea of technical complexity that really slowed things down and made the project a lot more difficult than it needed to be. And much like a lot of government organizations, politics, and slow decision-making, a lot of the things we talked about in this video are the things that led this government entity to fail. And these are all things that could have been avoided if Birmingham City Council or any other government organization were to follow some of the best practices we're talking about here in this video, and at the very least avoid the pitfalls we've talked about in this video. Then they're going to be a lot more likely to succeed and ensure that they're successful in their projects. And speaking of success, if you want to learn more about how to be successful in your government ERP project, I encourage you to read our free ebook called Lessons from 1,000 Digital Transformations. You can find that free ebook right here, scan this QR code here, or go to the links below. And in that book, we talk about 20 things that successful projects do differently than those projects that fail. And this is based on our experience having worked with over 1,000 different organizations through their projects, including successful ones, but also helping failed projects get back on track. We also base this paper on a lot of the learnings we have from being expert witnesses in government-related lawsuits and understanding why those projects failed and testifying in court as to why that is. So there's a lot of credibility in this report. I encourage you to read it via the links below or the QR code right here. So I hope you found this information useful, and I hope you have a great day. Both publicly traded companies so all these things contribute to this dynamic where, I forgot what I was talking about.